So if you guys don't have any questions about the class, I'll just go ahead and get started. We're going to pick up where we left off with visual analysis. Let me share my screen with you. Let's see, I don't want that. Sorry, I should have set this up before. Okay, let me go home. And this is where I want to be, right here. Okay. All right, so we're going to work our way through that PowerPoint. Oh, Megan says, quick note, Prop 20 is worded in an incorrect and dishonest way. If you want to know what it entails, you have to see what the district attorney's office is. Good. Good tip, Megan. Okay. And district attorneys, they're political people, but they're not supposed to be partisan people. At least that's the way it was before. Okay. So that's a good source of objective information on these things. All right. Okay. So let's see. I want to go up here. I'm going to open this. Oh, I don't need to do that. Haven't had my coffee yet. Sorry. This is what I want. That's what I want. Okay, as I was saying, I'm going to work my way through this as far as I can get into it. I might not be able to finish all of it, but with each of these slides, what we're doing is we're unpacking them in the way that you would want to be unpacking your image. Looking at all of the details, first and foremost. Every single detail matters, okay? And then trying to infer who the target audience is, okay? Coming up with an argument about who the audience is based on the details in the image, based on the context for the image, based on who made the image and where it's likely to be seen, okay? And we're using different tools of analysis. We're looking at culture and how culture is reflected in the images, how the images and the people who made them use assumptions about us based on what they know about our culture, okay? Our values, our beliefs, our concerns, our interests, our attitudes about things to craft an image in a particular way for a particular audience. That's another thing that it's super important for you guys to talk about in your essay. Did we leave off, did we talk about historical context, you guys? No? Do you remember seeing this slide? That must have been my other class. What about this one? Did you guys see this one? Remember seeing this slide?
I think it ended like some Marvel ads, like a Hulk thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
the milk.
Okay. So we left off here with these guys.
Even earlier
And the
than that, I
got
think.
milk one.
This one.
No, it was a got milk.
Oh, we were all the way
Yeah.
up here. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about
Taylor.
Thank you. Okay, I tipped my hand. I showed you the stuff that was supposed to be a surprise. That's okay. You don't remember it, right? I'm just
We
kidding.
did the Taylor Swift one too.
Yeah.
We did the Taylor Swift one too. Did we talk about this one?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
here, let me make it bigger. This ad makes me laugh and it makes me sad at the same time. Okay, or this image. It's not an ad, it's an art piece. All right, let me do slideshow here, make it bigger. There we go. All right, so everything that we've talked about so far, all of the elements of visual rhetoric, all the ways that pictures make their argument are here in this image. What's the context? What's the rhetorical context or cultural context for this image? What's it making an argument about? What topic, what issue? This says anti-rape cloak as a tip, as a hint. What's the issue?
It's probably has to do with sexual assault and victim blaming.
Yes, exactly right. Both of those things are the issue, okay? Sexual assault. And it's making an argument about victim blaming, right? What's the argument that it's making about victim blaming?
Well, so often you hear, oh, well, they should have covered up, they were dressed provocatively, stuff to this flavor. And in this, it's sort of the antithesis of that, where you can't even see the silhouette of the person. Everything except for their face is completely obscured. You have no idea
Right.
of any of their proportions.
And is this thing going to protect her from being raped?
I don't know if that's the argument it's making. I'm assuming if they're assuming that it's based entirely off of looks, which is completely understandable, then yeah.
The answer, guys, is this going to protect her from being raped? Of course not. Right? Of course not. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous on purpose. Okay? So what is the argument this image is making about that thing that people say when a woman experiences a sexual assault or rape, that she could have prevented it by wearing something else? That it's her fault that she got raped? Because that's really essentially what they're saying, right? It's your fault.
Yeah.
So what's the argument this image is making about that?
That wearing the direct opposite of that still makes no difference.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, is the argument.
Yeah.
This is absurd. And that is an absurd argument. All right? So this image is using satire and it's using irony to make its argument. Okay, those two rhetorical tropes, okay, to make its argument, satire and irony, are present in the visual rhetoric here. That is what this is conveying. Okay? It's ironic, okay, that people blame women for their own sexual assaults and rapes, right? And she is satirizing that, okay, with this ridiculous garment that she's wearing that will in no way protect her from being raped, of course. Okay, so what are some other pieces of visual rhetoric in this image that help to convey that argument?
The location of where she is
Yes.
and
Very
the
much
time
so.
of day.
Say more about the location. I don't know who that was. Was that?
It was me. She's in a mostly abandoned like car park, and we can kind of see it's dark outside. So she's already in danger just by being alone in this isolated place at night.
Yeah, Megan. And what you're doing is you're drawing on your cultural knowledge to make that interpretation. Okay? An underground parking lot is a cliche of sexual assault, isn't it? Okay, women in this meeting, and maybe men too, but women in this meeting, how do you walk to your car if you're parked in an underground parking lot? What do? We all do it.
Bring someone with you or bring
Okay.
a weapon.
Hopefully you said weapon, right? If you're alone, okay, what do you have in your hands? We all know this because it's part of our culture.
Your keys.
At least you've got your keys in your hands, right? You've got your purse slung over military style so that your hands are free. And then you've got the keys in one hand, you've got the end of the key poking through your knuckles so you can stab somebody, right? And then you've got your pepper spray in your other hand. I put my pepper spray in my dominant hand because I think it's the most useful tool, all right? But the point is, and I could go on, you guys could too, because we all know this. We all know this. This is culture that we're drawing on and that they're using to make this argument. This woman who's a performance artist, okay, is using our cultural knowledge to convey her argument. She could have put herself in this outfit anywhere. She put it herself here on purpose. Okay? All right, so we could go on with this. There are a lot more details in here. You know, it's abandoned. Megan said it's dark, right? But it's here on purpose, and we could say more about it. But I'd like to move on. All right, we were just talking about this. Existing cultural values and understandings are mobilized, manipulated, amplified to advance the argument. Okay, we can read culture in these images, and these images are reading us. They're making assumptions about us and what will work with us because of what we know about how stuff works. Okay, images depict things about culture and reveal cultural attitudes that may be unconscious, right? They're making assumptions about us, as I said. Do you guys know who this guy is? Susie knows, but I can't hear her.
Is that Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. He's hot, right? For 1962. And that's the point, right? This is ideal masculinity for 1962. That's culture, you guys. And the way you can tell it's culture is the way that these things shift, these values shift, because they're being actively constructed and reconstructed in culture by us. And advertisers know that. This is an ad to sell Clint Eastwood to movie audiences. That's what this is for. This is promoting Clint Eastwood as a guy that presumably women are gonna want to go see in a film. Okay, what about this? Whoop, I went too fast and ruined the surprise. Who's that? Susie is saying that's Brad Pitt. I can read her lips. That's right, that's Brad Pitt, right? That's Brad Pitt circa 2006. Okay, he still looks this good, you guys. Good, right? Good, that's a value. Okay, look at how it has changed. Look at that. Look, what differences do you notice here that show you the shift in cultural values for men? What's different between this guy and this guy?
Muscles.
That's it. You gotta have the abs. You better have defined pectoral muscles and abs, right? Or you're gonna want them if you're a man, okay? Because it is assumed that this is what's going to appeal to a woman. But culture shapes these values and these interests. That's the point. It's like a big feedback loop. Right, Gabby? Remember the feedback loop from English 1A? Where's Gabby? There she is. Hi. Yeah, okay. So we have these values already. And then people who want to sell us stuff, they make assumptions about that, and then they amplify it, they exaggerate it so that it's constantly growing, okay? The size of these muscles and the importance of them has been growing, okay, for the last couple decades. Look, for example, look at that. You guys know Barbie, right? Y'all know who Barbie is and what she represents in this culture. She represents ideal femininity, or has for a long time, for females in this culture. And Ken is her counterpart, okay, representing ideal, the good partner for Barbie is Ken. He's just as good as she is, okay? And what matters about those two dolls is how they look, because they don't have any other characteristics. Your imagination gives them their other characteristics, okay? But look at this. This guy looks like a 10-year-old boy, 1950s Ken, right? At least what we think of as a body type for a boy, not a man, right? 1988 Ken, he's got a little bit more definition and bulk here. Still no genitals. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but I won't go into that. Okay, look at this, you guys. All right, 2000 versus 2015. Okay, look at this. Look at the amplification of cultural values for men here. Just within those 15 years. Okay, this is Hugh Jackman trying to be Wolverine in 2000, and this is him trying to be Wolverine in 2015. Look at. People thought in 2000 Hugh Jackman looked pretty good here. Okay, now they expect him to look like this if he's going to be Wolverine. All right, if he's going to represent the masculine values of dominance and aggression and fitness that our culture has for men. And look at the toy. Look at that. That's impossible, okay? So men are getting to the point in this culture where women are with Barbie, where the images that they're being given for how they should look are impossible. They're not physically attainable. Okay, or at least not by most people. And that's culture. And here's another example. Here's the Hugh Jackman toy. Look at these little noodles. He's trying his hardest. He's working out, he's not eating any carbs, and still he can't do this. He can't get there. All right, the amplification in culture. All right, and this is about female ideals and how they shift for women and how that's a facet of our culture, an effect of it, a product of it. All right, and so what I'm doing with these slides is I'm using gender as an example. Okay, gender might not be a relevant element in your images, but I'm just using it as an example to talk about culture, okay, and how our values are shaped by culture and how culture draws on those values to craft images for us that make arguments at us. All right, and here's another example of how they shift. Each of these females is a feminine ideal for her time and place. Okay, and this is a little closer to where we are now. Although that's changing too. That's changing, right? Because people have said, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to do something else. So I'm going to do this and I'm going to promote it, and then people are going to see that and they're going to go, hey, that's kind of cool. I didn't think it was cool 10 years ago, but I think it's cool now. So maybe I'll do that, and then it grows and it spreads. Okay. And then we can generalize. This slide is about encouraging you guys to be comfortable with generalizations. I find that students in classes are often very, very hesitant to generalize, and that's good because you've been told, you know, stereotyping is bad. You shouldn't generalize. Not all, right? Not all men X, not all women Y, and that's true. But if we can identify, as we agreed before when we were working through chapters 3 and 4, if we can identify a pattern in facts and inferences that are observable, then we can generalize. And that still means not all. Okay, but what this assignment is asking you to do is it's asking you to infer and generalize from the facts that are available. So you have to get comfortable doing that. All right, so who are these two guys? Who's this guy?
Arnold.
That's Arnold, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger, previously, okay, film star. I believe this is from The Predator, one of them. There were many. And who's this guy? Anybody know?
Bob.
He's gone kind of obscure now. I might have to get a
Sylvester
different.
Stallone, Rambo.
That's right. This is Sly from one of the Rambos. Because as with The Predators, people liked these movies. And so they made more of them. Because what do they want? They want to sell movies, right? So they're going to go with what people like, what their interests are, what they value, what reflects back to them their own pre-existing ideals for masculinity, but then exaggerates them, right? Because if you're just seeing the same old thing all the time, you're going to get bored as a consumer. They got to give you something new, okay? Something startling, something that interesting. All right, so these are extreme versions of a masculine ideal. All of the cultural values that we have for maleness are here. The size, the shape, okay? The dominance, the aggression are all here, be reflected in the visual rhetoric in these images. And these are idealizations of a feminine social role. Okay, that's the argument that Goffman makes in this slide right here. He's a sociologist. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about Goffman. You guys can look at this presentation. It's in 5.1. Okay, that's where I got it. Okay, but all of these images are ads, you guys, and they are simultaneously reflecting and shaping culture, our cultural values. They are drawing on what we already believe about how women should behave, right? And then exaggerating that in order to sell soap here. Or I don't know what's being sold in this one. Okay, but what social role for women do these images reflect? What should a woman be doing in our society? What's her place?
Well, she's lying down in all of them.
Yeah. Lying down in a kind of particular way. This one's on her stomach, right? But these are all in what's called the recumbent position, leaning back, okay, with your front exposed, leaning back. Okay, so what is that? How do you read that? What does that signify?
Submissive and seductive.
That's it, both of those things at the same time. Seductive and submissive at the same time. Okay, and this is a pattern, you guys. I know these are old images. I could find a bunch that are very recent of women being posed in this way to sell stuff. And what they're selling at the same time as the stuff, this is an ad for jeans, is they're selling a set of values at the same time. They're drawing on them and they're reinforcing them and exaggerating them. And that's what all that stuff says. What about these? There's a pattern here, right? Women doing the same things in all of these ads with their bodies are very similar things. They're selling different stuff. Okay, this one is selling jeans, I think. All right. This top, if you can call it that, might be a polo item. I don't know, but it's Polo Jeans Co. So I can reasonably infer the ad is for jeans. But what's being sold here, you guys? Along with the jeans, what's being sold?
Her.
Yeah, her, literally, her body, right, is being sold. And also, all of these ads are aimed at women. What's the message to women in these ads? These ads aren't for men, right? Like the ring ad was for men. Okay, these are for women. What's being sold to women in these ads?
Like if you want to be desirable, you know, this is what it looks like to be cute and desirable. But you're gonna need to buy this stuff or
Yeah,
look this way.
right. And why would you want to be desirable? Desirable to whom?
Men.
Right. Okay. So this image is using what it knows about a female's interest and desire to attract a man, okay, to sell its products. Hey, women, the subtext is, hey, women, if you buy this top, you don't even have to wear it this way because I know you. Look at the exaggeration here. Do you ever see people on the street wearing their shirt like this? On the street, I'm specifying, right? Not in our popular culture, but on the street. People don't dress like this. So it's an exaggeration. But we have to be able to see these, right? In order to get the message, which is if you want to attract a man, buy our polo stuff. And that will help you attract a man. Okay, let me move on. Whoop. Okay, I'm going to come back to that. But look at the pattern here. And again, these are old images, but trust me, I could find ones that were just made yesterday to put in this slide if I had the time to redo it, which I don't. Okay, but if you haven't thought about this before or noticed it, because again, these things hit our subconscious, right? They hit the things that we don't think about, our social values and our beliefs and our interests that we don't consciously think about, or we're not even aware that we have them, okay? And they present those and reinforce them. So what's the pattern here? What's the message to women?
They all draw attention to their mouths, to their lips.
Lots of attention. It's calling attention to their mouths or lips. Why? In this one, it might be to sell lipstick, right? Because that's what this ad is for. It's trying to sell lipstick. But this one isn't. Okay. So what are they? This one is selling cigarettes. So what's the message to women? What's the proper social role for females being reflected in this pattern of body language? It's called body language on purpose because it's communicating something. What's it communicating?
I guess it's sort of reiterating on what the other ads were doing as well, which is this suggestion of seductiveness and expectation of presenting that way.
Yeah. Okay. These ads are intended to seduce, but again, they're aimed at women, right? So it gets kind of tricky, right? They're selling something to women. They're selling a product to women and a set of values to women at the same time, right? Which is, once again, I'm interested in attracting a man. And if you're, ladies, if you're interested, and it's ladies, ladies, if you're interested in attracting a man, this is how you do it. You get our stuff and you do this with your hand over your mouth. Why? Because this one says, I'm cute, right? And I'm interested in you, okay? And I'm kind of shy, but I'm also a lot of fun, right? And by the way, I won't say anything that will piss you off. I won't say anything that will piss you off, right? She's not going, I'm thinking, right? No, she's not thinking. Okay? Trust me, you'll see it everywhere. Okay, moving on. Ah! Oh, my mouse is so sensitive today. All right, who's this? Do you guys, well, it tells you. Do you know who Sheryl Sandberg is? Facebook? She's an executive at Facebook. I can't remember what her role is there. She's not CFO. I can't remember what her role is, but she's a high-ranking executive at Facebook. So she has a lot of power. She, by our standards in the society, is very successful. Okay, she's very successful. She's a female human. Okay, why this language? Don't hate her because she's successful. Why would anyone hate her because she's successful, you guys? We know what this means right away. Why would anyone hate her because she's successful? You would never see this copy if this cover was of a man, if it featured a man. They would never say, don't hate him because he's successful, would they? Can you imagine that? We'll come back to that. How gender and gender roles and gender values are being reflected in everything about this Time magazine cover, everything about it. Okay, why might people hate a woman that is a high-ranking executive in a high-power company?
There's a lot of people out there still that are not comfortable with the premise of a powerful woman.
Yeah, I love the way you say that, as if it's completely unreasonable. And it is, it is. It's absurd, again. Okay, she's not gonna, what do we call women in powerful positions, you guys? And present company accepted with an E. Let me just put that out there if I haven't already for you guys. I think a lot of people hesitate to respond to these kinds of questions because they don't want to be implicated in the answers. All right? I don't believe any of this stuff that I'm talking about, but our culture does. Our culture has these values and enforces them. And that is observable. So that's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to make those observations. All right, so what do people, not us, but what do people say about a powerful woman in a influential position?
I call her bossy, which is a word that is never used to refer to a male. Any woman in a position of power is bossy and irritating.
Yeah, Yeah, there's another B word that they use, right? A woman giving other people instructions is bossy and a bitch, right? Oops, I custom zoom. Oh well, I'll see if I can edit that part out. All right, but that's the culture, you guys. All right, that's out there, and that's reflected in this image, not just the words. Let's look at her body language. Okay, what does this way that she's holding her body mean?
It's still timid.
Good. At least she's not recumbent, right? She's standing straight up and down. She's standing straight up and down at least, but she's still closed off here, right? So I mean, look at her feet. She is literally trying to navigate a razor's edge here. She's trying to walk this really, really, really thin area that she has, okay, to navigate, to be in, where she's got to be assertive, you know, but not too assertive, right? She has power, right? But she's got to let you know she's not going to bite your head off. She's not a bitch. Look, she's got a little half smile. Why is she not smiling broadly like these women? Whoops. Why is she not smiling like that?
Typically, she wouldn't be taken seriously if she were smiling.
That's right. Okay. Her legs are crossed. She's literally hobbled. She has hobbled herself. You know, it's not literally, it's symbolically hobbled. She has symbolically hobbled herself, right? And look at what she's doing with her arms. Can you imagine? Oh, there goes my neck. Can you guys hear me, by the way? And or am I too loud? I don't have my headphones in today because they were acting weird last week, cutting in and out. I can't seem to win the audio game. Okay, but try to imagine what it would look like if Donald Trump was on the cover of this magazine, as he has often wanted to be. What would it look like? What would his body language be conveying? How would he be holding his body?
Straight up and down, crossed arms, powerful stance.
Right, or like this, right? This is the power stance, legs apart. That's the power stance. That's how he would, or any other male executive would be standing on the cover of this magazine. Donald Trump does this in a lot of his pictures. He frowns, right? And that's fine. Nobody's going to call him a bitch for that. Okay? But her body language is very tentative, reflecting the stress that she has navigating this space that she's in. All right, the color that she's wearing is important. Red in this context is a power color. Okay, when women wear red, then that they're trying to represent that they have power. Okay, but it's very, very tentative.
The background is very muted by contrast, which is something we haven't really seen before. It was always very stark white or very vibrant. And in this case, it's this sort of strange office building green. I feel like I've seen this on an office carpet before.
Yeah. So the way I would read that is seriousness, right?
Yeah.
That she's a business person. She means business. Okay, but not too aggressively, not too much, right? Okay, moving on. Nudes. All right, there they all are in the recumbent position. Look at the different ways that female and male nudes are represented in our culture. You guys recognize her? I'm just curious. Who is it, Susie?
Is it from Titanic?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Rose.
All right, hilarious.
Sketch that Leo made of Kate Winslet from the Titanic. Okay, but here's some female nudes, more recent ones. Okay, let's see what differences we can notice between these female nudes and these male ones. This one, or this one? It's like being at the optometrist. Is it this one? Do you guys have glasses now? Or this one? Which thing can you see? What differences do you notice? Ezra said taking up a lot of room. And what was that in reference to, Ezra? Taking up a lot of room. Lower or higher perspective. Okay, good. All right, so we're kind of looking down on these women, at least these two, right? And we're looking up at these guys, right? Especially this one. The viewer's perspective is from underneath these figures. And here, the perspective of the viewer, at least in these two, is from above the subject in the image. Oh, to the magazine cover. Okay, thank you, Ezra. But it applies to this as well, doesn't it? Perspective is important in these images and comparing them and contrasting them. So what other differences do you notice between this one and this one?
The women are exposed a lot more than the men are.
Generally,
Yeah.
the women are a lot more exposed, right? This one has more clothes on than either of, what? God curses, than either of these. But what's that? What's that about? Why do that? Why do that, you guys? That was not, it started as a rhetorical question, but then I thought I would make it a real one. Why have her panty showing?
It's the whole seductive expectation again.
Right. And presumably this is an ad aimed at women. It's for clothes. It's a Guess ad, I think, or a Polo ad. And who's going to buy those women are. So what message are you giving to women by having this girl spread her legs and show her panties? We know, so I'll move on. Okay. But what else? What other differences do you notice between this one and this one? Dahlia says the women are being seductive, laying down, exposed, although they're selling perfume compared to the men who are selling underwear. Okay.
The women either have like a very seductive kind of come hither look or a very innocent, almost, it looks frightened to me look. Whereas the men all look confident and aloof.
This one right here, maybe she looks a little bit timid, right? But good. So they have a seductive look. What about these guys?
They're not even looking.
That's right. They're not even looking at us. They're not even looking at the viewer. Okay? So these two images, I don't know. I think this one is for perfume for women. And this one is for men. It says so right here. Okay, and there's some interesting differences between these two as well, which I won't go into. Okay, but these are telling the target audience something, right? That these women are interested in the audience, whoever the audience is. This woman is interested in you, man, looking at this image. This woman is interested in you, okay, female. She's telling you something looking at this image. This woman is looking at us too, implicating us in whatever the message is that this image is making and reflecting a value about being female, which is, I care about you, right? This one is, please love me. That's how I would read it. Same here, right? Same here. These guys are, I don't care about you. I've got my own thing, right? I'm doing my own thing, wearing my underwear, hanging out, or not. And I don't care about you. I'm not interested in you, which is reflective of an idealized social role and attitude for men. Okay? They're standing straight up and down while these women are lying down. Christ. What happened? There we go. Oh, so sensitive. right? That's on purpose. It's all on purpose. Okay, they're literally erect. You guys, this one has a big penis behind him, right? What is that thing he's leaning against? It's phallic. It's shaped like a penis. Okay? So those are important differences that you can read the culture in. You can read the culture in these ads, in these images, right? This is an ad for men, right? And what it's telling men is, hey guys, buy this perfume and this woman will do this for you. She's ready, okay? She's waiting for you. You just need the perfume. And not any woman, but this particular woman or a woman who looks a lot like this will do this for you. Okay? And just, I'm going to run through these really quick. But, you know, the thing about norms, and we've been talking about gender norms and cultural values, and the thing about them, the fact that they're normalized, okay, is because that's what we're used to. We're used to seeing that thing. So it doesn't strike us as strange or in any way. All right. The way you can tell that you've been socialized to accept certain things as normal is when certain things look strange to you. And there's no logical reason why they should make you uncomfortable. But they do for some reason, because of culture. Let's look at this. So how do we feel about what these women are doing in these ads? Are we comfortable with what these women are doing? That this woman is caring about her pores and having fun cleaning her face? And that these two women are girlfriends, right? And they're close to each other and they can be like this. We're all good with that, right? All right, now I'm going to get some blowback with this one because we're in Santa Cruz. But how do you feel about this one? There we go. Susie is smirking, right? And that is the intended effect here. Okay, that's what tells us that this kind of behavior for males is not something that we're used to yet, even though that's changing. We're not used to seeing guys do this, being this close to each other, or caring about their complexion. Right? This one, same, right? Now, he's got a kind of silly look on his face, and that's good because he better be joking to holding his body like this. Okay, guys aren't supposed to do this. He better be playing around, but she's not. She's not playing around. She's dead serious. She's going to sell that bathing suit, and she's going to sell it to women. She's going to sell it to women by arching her back so that her backside is prominent and her front side is sticking out, right? Because that's what women are supposed to do. And again, why? Because that's what's going to get the attention of a man. Okay. And again, these are jokes on purpose, but Giuliani is not supposed to be whispering in Hillary's ear. It's supposed to be the other way around, right? She's supposed to be seducing him that way. Okay. And the former leader of the free world, I don't know if we have one of those anymore, you guys, but the former leader of the free world is not supposed to be presenting himself in the recumbent position, right? Of course, men lie down, but they're not supposed to be presenting themselves to us that way. And this is just kind of grotesque, okay? All right, now we're at history. So this is a slide for which the historical context, this is an image for which the historical context is important. You've got to know the history. And that may or may not have anything to do with your image. But like I said, I'm just going through all the possibilities for analyzing visual rhetoric. And for this one, history is important. Do you guys recognize this image? It's famous. Nathan, yes? You're nodding your head, yes? Okay. Do you guys know what it's called? This image, by the way? Perhaps? No? Anybody know? It's called Migrant Mother. That's what it's called. Anybody know who the photographer was? What about the context? What is the historical context for this image? What was going
this from
on?
the Dust Bowl?
Yes. Yes. Who was that? Was that Megan? Yeah. The Dust Bowl was the historical context for this image, right? That was the issue that was going on in our society, about which Dorothea Lange, the photographer, had something to say. She wanted to say something about that thing that was happening. Okay, so somebody explain to me the Dust Bowl. What was that about? So I can stop talking and drink some water. Anyone? You want to raise your hand? You can do raise hand. You can type in chat. What's the Dust Bowl about?
From what I understand, it was just sort of like a perfect storm of terrible weather conditions where there was a long period of drought which created the dust, and then a long period of really, really intense wind activity that made it completely unlivable. And I think it was mostly the Midwest that was affected, right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's almost exactly the situation. The other thing was bad farming practices.
Yeah.
Right? But the drought really hit these farmers in the Midwest hard, in places like Oklahoma and Arkansas and Kansas, right? Where they had to leave their homes. They became migrants because they couldn't sustain life on their land. They couldn't grow anything to eat. And then where did they go?
West.
West to, what are some places they went in the West?
I think Washington, Oregon, and California were probably
Yeah.
the big three.
Yeah, those are the big three. Okay, Salinas Valley, the Central Valley, rich farmland there, work for them to do. And that's what they tried to do. They tried to do work. They were itinerant laborers, migrant laborers, farm workers. And how were they treated? You guys read Steinbeck, Grapes of Wrath? Steinbeck, that book is all about this, these people. The Grapes of Wrath. No Steinbeck readers? Cannery Row.
They had were they called Okies? Was that because they were really discriminated against, since all these people all of a sudden were coming from the Midwest and they were seen as being dumber, all kinds of things.
Yeah. Criminals. Some of them were rapists. Some, I assume, were good people, right? That's how they were treated. That's exactly how they were treated. They were treated the same way that some people are treating immigrants, okay, now. Okay, they were treated like they were a pestilence. They're bringing disease. They're bringing crime. Oh, okay. So Dorothea Lange is trying to make an argument about that, all of that context that we just talked about. Not just that the people were migrants, but how they were treated. They were treated as if they were less than human. So what's the argument that this image is making about these people? How is Lange attempting to convey these people to a target audience who believes those things about them, but also has another set of values? Okay, values about motherhood and humanity and struggle and nurturing. What's Lange trying to argue here?
Maybe you could say that these people are suffering when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
The only way I kind of came up with that was through the image itself. The way that the woman's face, it looks really serious. The kid all over her shoulder looks kind of hungry, dirty. Doesn't look like he's bathed in a while. Just that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay. She's trying to argue that we should be able to see these people as human beings that are struggling and need help, and that we should care for them. We should help them and not vilify them. Okay. And this, Lange did a whole campaign, a whole series on these people, featuring this woman a lot. And that was her mission. That was what she was trying to do with her photographs, is humanize these people. All right, so historical context is really important to interpreting the visual rhetoric there. And I said you can't pick one that's older than 6, right? But historical context is important to this image too. This image uses, this image uses a lot of things in it. And history is one of the things it uses to make its argument. Okay, so just ignore the words. All right, and look at the visual rhetoric. Ethan did a really good job of interpreting the body language of the subject, the subjects in that image, to interpret its argument about that subject. What about this one? What's the argument this one's making?
Maybe one of them could be that people are suffering everywhere, no matter what place it is, or throughout history, maybe. That there's always been some type of people suffering.
Okay, and what? What should we do about that?
We can change it.
Yeah, we should help these people, right? So this, God, why mouse, why? I just have to not touch my mouse, I guess. So we interpreted this image. This is a different image of the same woman and children, but we identify the argument of this one as being, these are human beings, right? And we should be able to see them, those of us in the audience who value, you know, human life and who care for human suffering, we should be able to see these people as human beings and treat them accordingly. Okay, this image uses juxtaposition. It sets these two things side by side so that we have to compare them. And what the comparison that this image wants us to make most is similarity. It wants us to see the similarities between these two images. So that if we can see these people as human beings, then we should be able to see these people as human beings as well. And that's the argument all the visual rhetoric is making. Okay, everything about this image and the way it's composed, the way it's presented, is driving at conveying that message, right? Honduras 2009. Okay, we know that South America is a mess, right? And that's why so many people are trying to come to the US from there, from Honduras and Guatemala, right? Not just Mexico, okay? And so how are these people being treated? And again, not by everybody, we're generalizing. Okay, but there's a lot of anti-immigrant rhetoric out there that these people are bringing disease. These people are bringing crime. Okay, they're rapists. Some of them, I assume, are good people. There goes my neck again. All right, so it's the same argument, different time, same argument. All right, and how does the visual rhetoric help that? Help to support that argument? What details help?
Both of them have kids.
That's right.
Both have
Okay.
a kind of a sense of seriousness on their face.
Good. Both of their, just to drill in a little deeper to the details, their brows are creased, they're frowning. Okay, this one's looking up, this one's looking off into the distance, but they're both sort of looking off. They're not looking at the camera. All right, what else?
The kids aren't happy in either one of the pictures. They look kind of unkempt and unhappy, a little bit dirty. And it's framed like the exact same, head in the middle, two on the side.
Yeah.
Same exact kind of proportions are the same, so you can't help but compare the two people and see similarities.
That's it, yeah. So this is arrangement. If you wanted to talk about this in your essay, you could refer to this. You could use composition as a word to talk about it. How is the image composed? But how are the elements in the image arranged? They're arranged in the exact same way, which, as Susie said, is on purpose to get us to see these two situations as the same. right? If not identical, then very closely related. Okay, and we could go on and on. The lack of color in both of these images, this one was black and white because that's all the film they had in 1936. But this one didn't have to be black and white. Why make it black and white? What's the intended effect of that choice on purpose?
It gives it a sense of bleakness in a way, when there's not a lot of vibrance.
Yeah.
That can kind of come across, especially
Right.
when supported with everything else that's going on in there.
Yeah, it's kind of, it gives it a heaviness, right? A seriousness, gravity, all right? That goes with the theme. All right, and there's more we could say about this, but moving on. So this slide is about purpose, and remember when we talked about this, we had to think a little bit, deeply about what the actual purpose was of this image. And the way we determined that was by identifying the target audience. Okay, who's the audience? What do they care about? And what do they believe in? What are their interests? And then we could identify what the purpose of the image was, which was give us our $50, give us your $50, right? Not just support Greenpeace because the audience already does, but give us your money. Okay, here's some other elements. We've talked about a bunch of these already. Framing, distance from the subject. We haven't talked about that, but is it a close-up, medium shot, or long shot? Okay, that means something. Point of view, we talked a bit about that. All right, how is the viewer positioned? How is the viewer oriented towards the subject in the image? What's in the foreground? What's in the background? Selection, visual tropes. We talked about irony and satire, and we'll talk about some more. We talked about arrangement. We talked about juxtaposition. All right, this is lighting. This slide is meant to illustrate the effect of lighting in visual rhetoric. All right, and do you guys recognize this person?
OJ.
Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you still recognize him. I think I'm gonna have to pick a different slide. OJ is slipping into the obscurity he deserves. So a lot of people don't recognize this anymore. Okay, but it does a good job, setting these two side by side. This is OJ's mugshot. Why does he have a mugshot, you guys? What did he do? What was he arrested for?
Because he killed his wife and her boyfriend, I
That's
believe he
right.
was at the time.
Allegedly, right?
Oh yeah, well,
Allegedly.
yeah.
Wink,
He was
wink.
acquitted in criminal court, but then convicted in civil court. All right, and pretty much everybody thinks OJ did it. All right, even people who were glad when he wasn't convicted think he's guilty. Okay, but these covers of these two influential magazines in the US, okay, feature him, and they want to tell a different story about him and about that situation. All right, this one wants to make him more sympathetic, and it does that by darkening the image. Right, it wants to say that, yeah, he did it, but it's a tragedy. Okay, he was driven to do it by demons and culture. Right, there's something called the Othello syndrome. If you guys know Shakespeare, Othello was a dark-skinned Venetian who murdered his white wife because he thought she was having an affair with his best friend, and she wasn't. But they got inside his head and made him, they activated his self-loathing because Venetian society was racist. And so that's the story that this Time magazine cover wants to tell about OJ. And they use lighting to help convey that, to soften his image, to make him seem more sympathetic. That's my analysis. And my evaluation of this visual rhetoric would be that it failed, okay, that it didn't work, right? Because the effect of this lighting on me as a viewer is that it makes him look more sinister. Okay,
Cool
so
motive, still murder.
Yeah. Okay, but you can make a different evaluation. What do you think? Does it make him look more sympathetic?
I think for the Times magazine, I think they focus more on his eyes, kind of like the seriousness he had in the mugshot, which kind of, you know, gives that vibe of sinisterness, you know?
Good. So you think Time did a good job by making his
Yeah,
eyes look a little sadder?
yeah.
Okay. All right, then. You could, you know, we can have different interpretations as long as you can defend it like you just did, Ethan, and anybody else with the visual rhetoric, then you're good to go with your interpretation and your evaluation of the images and whether or not they've been successful and what they are attempting to do. But in this one, I agree, his eyes just look kind of dead here, right? This is his mugshot. Okay, it's mostly unaltered, but this one has been darkened, okay, for a particular effect. This one also uses lighting to achieve a particular effect, okay, to make the audience think in a particular way about the subject, okay? How does the darkening of this image, what's the effect of it? What's the effect that it has? What do you think they intend?
We
Sorry,
looked
go
at
ahead.
these images in another class, and it was, especially for Black people, they darken it to make them look more Black a lot of the time, because in our culture, more Black is worse, right? So we look at, oh, the lighter skinned guy is like less dangerous, more like us or whatever, more to our social norms. So in that OJ picture, they darken it to say, like, this guy is less like us. This person is more Black. They're more sinister. So, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
It might be one of these.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's in our subconscious, that we're not even aware that we have these reactions, but they are. They know that's how we're going to react. So that's why they do it. Would it help you guys to know that this is an image that appeared on the NRA website? National Rifle Association.
Interesting.
You know what those guys are about? What are they about?
Guns.
They're about guns, right? And they were not about President Obama, right? Their argument about him was that he was going to take your guns. He's coming for your guns and your civil rights and your freedoms, right? He's a tyrant. He's going to take your guns, right? So that's the image of him that they want to convey to their audience, that he's a tyrant.
I noticed too.
Guy.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's the interesting choice of sort of filtering that they put on it. It reminds me of the kind of distortion you'd see on like security camera footage, if that makes any sense. And whenever we associate something with security camera footage, we associate it with something bad about to happen. So, interesting editing choice there to make it look like he was recorded on CCTV or something.
Yeah, good observation. That was something I hadn't noticed before about this image, but you're totally right. Okay, the distortion is an important part of the visual rhetoric. It contributes to the argument. Okay. All right, let's move on. But this is lighting. Okay. Oh, this is selection. Oh. Okay, so I'll tell you where these were. You need to know where they are, right? That helps. Okay. This one was an image that was displayed on the DNC website, Democratic National Committee website. And this one was an image that was displayed on Breitbart.com, which, as we said a bit ago, is a conservative news website. Okay, there are literally gazillions of pictures of Hillary Clinton. Okay, Breitbart picked this one on purpose to tell a particular story they want to tell about Hillary Clinton, right? That looks like she's going to bite this woman's head off. Okay, the DNC wants to tell a different story about Hillary Clinton. So they picked one where she looks kind of nice and grandmotherly, right? And reasonable. And definitely not like she's going to bite someone's head off. That's selection. Here's another one that uses selection. Does anybody recognize this woman? I'll tell you, this is Michelle Bachmann, as you can read right here. But she's a former congresswoman. She was in Congress for Barack Obama's first term. And she was part of this organization called the Tea Party Conservatives, right? And why did you think they called themselves the Tea Party, you guys? What history is that referencing?
Oh, the
The
Boston Tea
liberation.
Party. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Eleanor.
Yeah, they're meant to represent the liberation of the Boston Tea Party as
Yeah.
an anti-government group.
Yeah. What was the Tea Party, literally, at the Boston Tea Party? What happened? A bit of history. Do you guys, why do they call it the Tea Party?
Didn't they like
Dumped a bunch of tea. Yeah.
Sorry, do you guys want to raise your hands? I'm happy that you all want to talk. That's great. So far, it hasn't been a problem. But if you want, we can use raise hand. Okay. Go ahead, Susie.
I was just going to say they dumped a bunch of tea in the harbor. I thought it was like about taxation without representation, but it's been a while since I've
I
taken
know, I
that class.
understand.
But yeah.
But
yeah,
you're
they
totally
dumped it,
right.
in protest. They dumped a bunch of tea into the Boston harbor.
Yes, that's what they did. Because there was a tax. The British were taxing tea coming into the Boston harbor. All right. So they protested and they destroyed property, right? Which I guess is okay if it's in the history, but not if it's in the present. Oh, there goes my neck. The destruction of property was not deemed a sin by the Tea Party conservatives. They adopted that because they thought Barack Obama was going to tax them too much. And, you know, in fairness, he said he was going to raise taxes. Okay, but this is about selection because of this. Goes with the story that Newsweek wants to tell about. How do I escape? There we go. Okay, that Newsweek wants to tell about this woman, Michelle Bachmann. All right, let me show you some other pictures of her, so you can see that they selected one on purpose. Michelle, I'm glad Obama's the first one that comes up. There she is. Okay, let's look at some images of her. There we go. Look at that. She's lovely. She's a lovely woman. All right, look at these pictures of her. All right, and there's the one we were looking at. She looks crazy here.
Something about her eyes.
She's, you know, I figure, you know, and you know, guys, they took at least 100 images of her for this cover. And then they picked this one. She was pissed. She was pissed, right? But she's a beautiful woman. They picked that one on purpose. That's the point. Okay, let me go back to my slideshow here. Right, there she is. Okay. Visual tropes, metaphor. So a metaphor is a comparison between two things where the two things are the same thing, right? Versus a simile, which is a comparison between two things where the two things are related but different, using like or as. This thing is like that thing. Metaphors, no, this thing is that thing. All right, and this is a poem by Sylvia Plath. Is anybody familiar with this poem? Eleanor, I see you reacting to this poem. Do you know it?
I know this one.
What's it about, Eleanor?
Oh, I've never really thought about it.
Oh, okay.
Just
It uses
read it before.
It's called metaphor, right? And it uses metaphors. All of these images in this poem represent something else. They all represent the same something else. What's that something else that the images represent? The textual images. I'm a riddle in 9 syllables. An elephant, a ponderous house. Right? I have to move my Zoom window. A melon strolling on 2 tendrils. Big round thing walking on 2 little skinny things. What is she? This loaf's big with its yeasty rising. I'm a means, a stage, a cow and calf. What is she, you guys? I don't want to spend too much time on it, so I'll just tell you, she's pregnant. She's pregnant and she's not happy about it. Plath was not happy about a lot of things, and especially about being pregnant. She says, I've eaten a bag of green apples, boarded a train, there's no getting off. Does that sound like she's happy about being pregnant? She's trapped. And she's very uncomfortable. All right, so that's metaphor. That's textual metaphor. Here's a visual one. Let's see if I can, there we go. That's a visual metaphor. The vodka bottle is something else. What is the vodka bottle? The text can help you. You can read the text. Susie, do you know? I see you laughing. Let me call on someone I haven't heard from yet. Nathan, what do you think this vodka bottle is?
I think it's a penis.
Thank you. Yes, yes. It's a flaccid male member. Isn't flaccid a great word? I love it. F-L-A-C-C-I-D, flaccid. Okay, flaccid male member. It's a limp dick, right? Because, okay, drinking a lot makes you impotent, right? Think about, this is an ad from Adbusters, which is an anti-consumer culture organization. Think about all of the alcohol ads that you've seen, the TV ads, the print ads that you've seen, right? Promoting alcohol consumption because they're trying to sell booze. What do they like? What do the people in them look like?
Successful, seductive, strong,
Sexy.
these kinds of things. Yeah.
Right? If you think about P. Diddy, is he still calling himself that? He's got his own, I don't know. He's got his own brand of, I can't remember what kind of booze it is, vodka or something, okay? And he's sitting at a bar surrounded by a bunch of beautiful, sexy women, right? And we're supposed to infer that after the shoot is over, he's gonna go have sexy time with all of those women, right? And every ad that you see for alcohol is like that, okay? It's saying that if you drink this, right, you're gonna have fun and you're gonna like have, you know, some sort of sexual encounter at some point in the evening. So this is challenging that value and that belief in our culture, right? That's the visual, what the visual rhetoric is trying to do. It's making an argument about that aspect of our culture. Saying, no, okay, you're not gonna be able to get it up if you drink a lot, like these ads say you should. All right, sorry to be so frank. But we're all adults. All right, so metonymy is another, and synecdoche, these are other kinds of figurative speech, figurative language, and figurative visual rhetoric. All right, this is something that is standing in for something else. That's what metonymy, and you guys don't need to memorize these things. You just need to learn how to read the images, what they represent. So do you guys recognize this statue? What does it represent?
New York Storage Center.
I'm sorry, what was that, Charlene?
Is it the Wall Street?
Yes, New York City, Wall Street, the financial sector, the financial center of the US. And Xiangling knows that. Did you guys know that? Xiangling is from China. Xiangling is actually in China right now, you guys. What time is it in China, Xiangling?
It's 3:30
a.m., right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Xiangling is in class at 3:30 a.m., you guys. Anyway, so yeah, this is the Wall Street bull. And you guys probably know that a bull market means a strong market and a bear market means a weak market. So Wall Street wants to portray itself as strong financially. That's where all of the stocks are traded and all the financial business is centered, in Wall Street. You guys need to know the time and place of this image. You know the place, but the time is 2013. And what was going on in 2013? Occupy Wall Street was going on in 2013. A bunch of people protesting the financial sector crashing our economy through their malfeasance, through their bad trading practices. They crashed the US economy, and then the global economy crashed because these people cheated. All right, so a bunch of people went down to Wall Street and they camped out there for months, you guys. Do you guys know about this? It's not that long ago, 2013. You weren't that young. All right, so that's the context for this image. What's the argument the image is making about that context?
Do you mean the image on whole with the fence and the police officers, or the image in the statue?
All of it, the whole thing, okay? Because the image is comprised of all of the information that is in the frame. Everything that's in the frame is in there on purpose. So what's the argument it all makes? It's using this bowl to help make its argument, but all of the other details. Go ahead, Susie.
That police are protecting the stock market, like not people. They're protecting stocks.
Yeah.
That's what it's set up to do.
Yeah.
Our government set up to do.
That's right. Okay. Our law enforcement system is set up to protect, okay, these people represented by this bull from the masses of people who have been hurt. I bet you guys know people who lost their house or their job, or their house and their job, because sometimes that's how it goes. You can't pay your mortgage, you know, you lose your house in that financial crash, or who lost their retirement savings, okay? Arguably, those things were stolen by these people in the financial sector, all right? And none of them went to jail, you guys. Maybe one of them went to jail, all right? But the people protesting are gonna go to jail if they try to deface this statue, right? They're gonna go to jail because that's what these cops are set up to do. Literally and figuratively through the visual rhetoric. They're set up to protect these white collar criminals and not the people from the white collar criminals. All right, this uses synecdoche, which is part for whole in figurative language and figurative visual rhetoric. We've just got a part of this woman, we've got a part of this guy. Do you guys know this ad campaign, Orbit? The woman has an Australian accent. Dirty mouth, clean it up with Orbit. No? I don't know how I know these things. I don't listen to ads. I mute them in my house, but somehow they get in there still. Okay? But all we need is the pair of legs because that's all he cares about, right? And we know what's going on here. What's going on, you guys? Because we're in this culture. That's why we know. What's happening?
Catcalling?
That's right. He's catcalling her. Or he's catcalling her legs. All right? So synecdoche is illustrated there. All right, symbolism. Oh, how I wish this were true. I was so hopeful 3 years ago when I put this slide in this presentation that this would be true. But what do these two people represent, or these two figures, excuse me? They're symbols, right? They symbolize something. What does this one symbolize?
Justice.
Justice, the courts. There goes my neck. Oh. And then what about this one? What does this one symbolize? This is an easy one, you guys.
America.
Thank you. Freedom and liberty, right? Liberty and justice. Lady Liberty, Lady Justice. And who's this? Dahlia, who's this?
It's Trump.
Dahlia.
That's Trump.
That's Donald Trump. How do we know?
The hand movements and him going towards them with all this anger kind of way.
Oh, Okay.
And he's
You can
storming
just
in there.
Sorry, Dahlia, go ahead. What else?
He's storming in there, basically.
Yeah, he's trying to get at them. And
Also, it's past our 12:30.
oh, is it?
time.
Thank you for telling me.
In
Thank
case
you.
anyone
Oh my
wanted.
God, how do I do that? How do I go on like that? I'm so sorry, you guys. Oh, it's 12:37. Christ. Okay, so you guys, do you have any questions about SA2? All you need to do for SA2 between now and when I see you again, and you've gone through this process already, is make a rough draft and submit it for peer review. Okay? And if you have any questions while you're preparing that rough draft, contact me, right? And I'll answer them. All right? But we've just been trying to practice. Oh, someone's chatting at me. Chat. We're over time. Thank you, Susie, for chatting at me. I wasn't paying attention to my chat. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go. So sorry to keep you over, especially you, Shanglin. Go to sleep.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you.